Tennessee Death Row Dogs, your local dog rescue nonprofit.
My name is Jeff Cornwall, and this is the Entrepreneurial Mind. Today my guest is John Aron with the Pasta Shop. We'll be back after this moment.
Talkapolis programming is sponsored by the following. Highland Hills, a multicultural, diversified funeral home supporting the entire Davidson County community. Visit our website at www.highlandhillsfuneralhome.com or call us at 615-650-5555.
Welcome, John. Appreciate you coming in.
Great to be here.
So when you come in and talk to my students, and I love having you come in, you kind of tell sort of the history of this whole pasta business. And
Right.
you and your wife, Carrie, went over to Italy and tell a story from there. It's just such a great story.
You know, the story really starts on the 12th hole at Richland.
So it wasn't in Italy.
We were working in New York in the
Okay.
printing business,
All right.
which was getting a little shaky in the early 90s. And I kept looking at that hole thinking, gosh, is there something I can do in Nashville that we could turn into a business?
So you can play that hole anytime you want
That's right.
to. Yeah.
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Why fly back to New York? So, you know, we really had that mindset of pre-kids, let's go for a big risk.
Right.
And our thought process was shaped by where we had been trained. And so light industrial manufacturing made sense to us. And being able to target the needs of women 25 to 65 made a ton of sense in terms of if you were going to choose the customer who would pay for new, unique, different, cute, that would be the target. And we just started uncovering it one step at a time in the business. But the premise was, let's make what we sell, let's make it unique and different, and let's see how broad of an audience we can create.
Now, you had never made pasta before, though.
Never made it.
Yeah. Talk about the learning curve on that.
Tough.
Yeah.
Starting a manufacturing plant from scratch is a big challenge.
Even when you know what you're doing, it's tough.
It is. But you know what? Like everything, it all starts with a relationship.
Right.
And the gentleman who was in his early 60s when we started, who's now in his early 80s, just flew with us to Italy to buy more equipment. So that guy has turned into the godfather of our business and is an essential part of it. I don't bring engineering and food science to the equation. We're entrepreneurs, and luckily with Carlo's help, we've been able to get the yields on the right equipment at the right time.
Right.
And one misstep there could have been tragic.
Oh, indeed. So, I mean, the pastas you guys make are, I mean, you use the word, it's fun. I mean, you've got
Yeah.
Christmas trees, you've got Kentucky K's, you've got all kinds of different shapes, and where did that idea come from? Because you went to Italy and they don't make Christmas tree pastas over there.
We had seen it in the marketplace and in the U.S. and thought, gosh, you know, that idea of matching high-end Italian batch quality with shapes that would be relevant to American moms made a lot of sense. And you know, 19 years later, we make products for her family, her friends, and now are kind of venturing into the world of foodieism again.
Right.
And so we're actually introducing this year some products that we think are kind of back to the roots in Italy, where there's plenty of stories to tell, and with social media being such a big part of what we're doing, it's now finally the right time to match our interest in food with something that we think we can get an ROI on.
So that got you into the cookies and some other things that you've been adding
That's
to
right.
line.
That's right.
Now, your distribution is quite different than a traditional pasta company. You don't go out and push your product to Publix and Kroger and so forth. You've got a completely different distribution network.
Well, you know, the problem that you ran into, and we sell in 6 different sales channels, but the problem we ran into was, could you get a CPG, consumer packaged goods product strategy, launched and get good ROI? We just don't have the marketing dollars involved to buy the slotting fees.
Right.
And so the problem was, how are you going to make real margin? And what we concluded was, if we could position the product to solve problems online and sell to U.S. fundraisers by solving their budget problems
Right.
online, that was the best strategy for selling more pasta online.
And that gave plenty of margin for you and them.
That's right, and it was kind of, who's the constituents here?
Right.
We only care about the consumer in reality, and it wipes out the middlemen.
Talk a little bit about your international reach with product, because I mean, originally when I heard about what you did, I certainly knew about the fundraising you did with American Moms.
Right.
But you're selling this stuff all over the globe now.
That's right. You know, it's funny where you can sell it and where you can't.
Right.
So there's scorched earth in Europe. Italy, Germany, France,
Right.
they're all big
Right.
into, no sense in going
And the
direct
EU
into
is tough
the,
to deal with
yeah.
anyway. Yeah.
But in Asia, they really like to celebrate U.S. holidays. And so when it comes to Halloween right through Easter, we're able to sell the same products that we make in the United States in smaller packages if we're going to Japan, in U.S. size packages if we're in Australia or New Zealand, and basically find ways to bridge the gap between what we're trying to do and what the issues are in the Japanese market, for example.
So do you make those same smaller packages right here in Nashville and ship them to Japan?
We sure do. Yep.
And the numbers still work?
Yeah, and it's a validation of, we do the customization part in part of our facility, but you really have to make sure you bring the mass production to it. And when it comes to working with the Japanese, from a product defect standpoint and from a price and productivity capability, it really kind of proves where we've arrived at.
What was the biggest challenge at the first international market? What was the biggest lesson learned that you had that might be something that would be helpful to somebody who's thinking about doing that and watching this segment?
Well, you know, you educate yourself in your business and try and know as much as you can, but it always comes down to what you don't know, you don't know.
That's right.
And so we never made mistakes like waiting to get paid. How am I going to track down an invoice in Japan? I
Right.
can't do it. So, you know, we never made anything kind of silly like that. But, you know, when it comes to international shipping, a lot of hands touch that 40-foot container. And so there's all kinds of issues that you can get into.
Right.
Along the way, it's mostly down to shipping damages or things like that.
How do you protect yourself from that? Or is that just a cost of doing business when you go internationally?
You know, I think it's kind of a blend of both. Best practices, you've got to get better every year. And so every year we try and push that bar up. At the same time, there's a lot of value that we capture by doing the unique item.
Right.
So if we don't start the conversation on the right price, we're in trouble.
Right. So you've added cookies. The pasta nests that you've started doing are fabulous. We love that sample you brought in for us.
Okay, great.
Talk about what's next.
So, you know, it's a humble bit to run a business. You really have to trade off of these insights, and these insights, for them to be investable, have to be pure and fundamental. So we're not in any rush to go and force kind of a mistaken investment.
Right.
We're at 20 years in, we can let the market come to us and tell us what's happening. So here's an example. With the '01 recession, after the internet bubble, the low-carb craze in the mid-2000s, and then the '08 recession, the middle of the U.S. pasta manufacturing business was completely wiped out. All of the guys with enough strength went upstream to commodities, aligned themselves with the Sam's Clubs and the Costco's, the big volume buyers, and said, no more specialties. Let me just make my money selling penne at quarter of penny prices difference from my competitors. The little guys all got crushed.
Right.
And so what we think the next step will be is two-pronged, because we're really trying to leverage two things in our business. One is the manufacturing, and the second is the e-commerce. And so what e-commerce does for us is it puts us in a one-to-one relationship with the consumer. And the question to her is, what next?
Right.
And so what we're hearing is there are some Italian specialties with deep roots in the heritages around our country. And we'll start making those. And we'll start filling in the gaps, not necessarily according to a circa 1999 middle-of-the-road player, but more updated for today's trends, health, foodieism, and go back to Italy saying, what do you have that we don't know about?
Very cool.
That's the fun part.
Very cool. Well, John, thanks for coming in.
Great to see you.
Look forward to seeing you
Thanks for
again
having
soon.
us. Bye now.